Here is a line. Every line has a number that represents the line's angle in relation to the x-axis and y-axis. That number is called the slope of the line. On this line, we've marked the points that have coordinates that are integers. There are infinite points on any line, but it's easier to work with the points that have coordinates, which are integers. We take our first two marked points and we notice that to get from one to the other, it's 2 up and 3 to the right. Then we notice that between any two consecutive marked points, it's 2 up and 3 to the right. But we don't have to pick two consecutive marked points. Here we just pick the second one from the lower left up to the second one to the upper right. And in this case, to get from one to the other, it's 6 up and 9 to the right. We write the slope as the vertical change over the horizontal change. This is also known as rise over run. And in our two instances, the first one we went 2 up and 3 to the right, and the second one 6 up and 9 to the right. When written as vertical over horizontal, it's 2/3 for the first one, 6/9 for the second one. But of course, we all know that 6/9 is equal to 2/3. So the slope for this line is 2/3. We can find the slope by starting with a point on the upper right instead of the lower left. So in this case, we start with the farthest most point on the upper right and go to the farthest most point on the lower left, which is 10 down and 15 to the left. Moving down is considered to be negative, as is moving to the left. So in this case, it's -10 over -15. But when we put it in lowest terms, it's still 2/3. The slope of this line is 2/3, and we've figured it out 3 different ways. It's time to look at a new line. Once again, we've marked points that have coordinates that are integers. We pick 2 points, and to get from the first point chosen to the second, 4 down, 16 to the right, -4 over 16, put in lowest terms, -1/4. So this line has a negative slope. We try a couple of other points, and picking the point which is the second point from the right, going to the second point from the left, that's 2 up and 8 left. So the positive number, the 2's on the top. The negative number, 8's on the bottom. But 2 over -8, when put in lowest terms, is -1/4. Here's another line. It's horizontal. A horizontal line has no vertical change. So we can mark any 2 points we want. These points are 10 apart. To go from left to right, that's a move to the right, that's +10. If we were going from right to left, that'd be moving to the left or -10. But 0 over +10 or 0 over -10 both equal 0. A horizontal line has a slope of 0. Here is a vertical line. A vertical line has no horizontal change. We mark 2 points. They're 8 apart. If we go from the bottom marked point to the top marked point, that's 8 up or +8. But the horizontal change is 0, so that's 8 divided by 0. If we go from the top point down to the bottom point, that's 8 down or -8, but we're still dividing by 0. And division by 0 is undefined. Vertical lines then have no slope, or some say that vertical lines have a slope that is undefined. Here's a piece of software called Geometer Sketchpad, or GSP, and you can put lines on coordinate planes using Geometer Sketchpad, and then if you ask Sketchpad, you know how to ask nicely, it'll give you the slope. So our line is labeled BA, and it's horizontal, so Sketchpad tells us the slope is 0. Now we're going to rotate line BA around point B. And now it has a slight angle to it, and Sketchpad tells us the slope is 0.08, or 0.08. This is actually a rounded off decimal for a slope of 1 over 13. We rotate some more, and it gives us 0.15. The exact answer is 2/13. Then it gives us another rounded answer, 0.23. The exact answer, 3/13. Then 0.33, many of us recognize this, is probably rounded off for 1/3. Then 0.36, is rounded off for 4/11. Here's one that's exact, 0.5. That's a slope of 1/2. And 0.67 is rounded off for a slope of 2/3. And 0.88 is rounded off for 8/9. And now we have a line that has a 45-degree angle, and that's a slope of 1. It goes 1 up and 1 to the right. And now it's a little bit steeper, a little more vertical. Sketchpad says 1.2, and in fraction form, that's 6/5. Here's 1.5, which is 3 up for every 2 to the right. And this is an exact answer, a slope of 2. 2 up for every 1 to the right. And then 3. That means 3 up for every 1 to the right. And then 6. 6 up and 1 to the right. And this is rounded, and I'm not sure what it's rounded from, but it's just a little more than 13. And now this line looks pretty much vertical, but it's not quite, and it has a slope just over 56. This line looks vertical to me, but Sketchpad says it's not quite vertical, and it has a slope of about 382. And according to Sketchpad, this is a vertical line. Sketchpad says the slope is undefined. I like to say it has no slope. We rotate a little more. It still looks pretty vertical, but it's not quite. And now it's going just slightly from upper left to lower right, so it has a slope of just over -141. And now -5. That means 5 down and 1 to the right. -2.5, of course, is 5 down and 2 to the right, or -5/2. And then -1.33 is rounded off for -4/3. Then we have -1, which is a mirror image of a line with a slope of +1. And here's -0.75, which is the decimal equivalent of -3/4. And then we have -0.67, which is rounded off for -2/3. And then we have -1/3. And finally, -0.17, which is rounded off for -1/6. And we go a little farther, and we're back where we started. Line BA has a slope of 0. It's a horizontal line. To summarize, every line has a number that represents the line's angle in relation to the x-axis and y-axis. It is called the slope of the line. Slope is a fraction determined by finding the vertical change divided by the horizontal change between any 2 points on a line. This is also called rise over run. Lines running from lower left to upper right have a positive slope. Lines running from upper left to lower right have a negative slope. The slope of all horizontal lines is 0. Vertical lines have no slope or an undefined slope because division by 0 is undefined.